Rachel, are you there? I heard that you bought a new car recently. Is that true? Did you do that?
Oh, hello, Donna. Yes, it really is true. I've gone and bought myself a new car. After all, the last car I owned, I had actually bought as a used car. So it already had so many miles on it before I even used it.
Well, I was just thinking that. Isn't it a little too much to be buying yourself a new car like that? I mean, I guess I just wasn't aware of your financial circumstances like that.
I know that it's not a small purchase at all, but if I don't have a car, then I won't be able to do a lot of things as quickly as I need to. And I wanted to buy something that I was sure I'd be able to use for a very long time.
I understand wanting to invest into something like that, but I still just don't understand why you couldn't have just brought a used car or something like that. I mean, you know my son, your husband David, is always taking the bus to work, don't you? So why is it that my poor boy is having to take public transportation while his wife gets a brand new car?
You know that this car won't just be for me, right? David and I will both be able to use this car whenever we want.
Well, sure, you say that now, but you are the owner of the car, aren't you? You will be the main person driving it, isn't that right? I know that David doesn't drive or anything like that. Do you want to know how I know that? I have a few friends who actually live in the neighborhood, you see. And they tell me that they're always seeing you driving, so what do you have to say about that?
I see. Well, I just want to let you know that I'm really not telling David he can't use it or anything like that. I think that David just prefers to commute by bus, and so that's why he doesn't drive all that often.
What are you talking about? You really think David wants to be taking the bus now that it's gotten so cold?
I don't know what you want me to tell you. Either way, you still have to pay for gas to drive. But most importantly, I think David just likes taking the bus and doing what he does. Besides, I know that he does like getting the opportunity to get small walks in where it's possible.
Well, I suppose I am at least happy to hear that my son is always looking for ways to be able to take care of himself.
Oh yes, that he most certainly does. He's always fussing over what kind of food he'll let himself eat. But eating isn't everything, and I guess that's why he likes to get his walks in.
You know, I've actually been thinking about this for quite a while now, but you have some very, very odd spending habits. You know that?
Oh, really? What do you mean by that? I'm sure that I have no idea.
I just mean that, well, you do know how far David's office actually is from where you both are living, don't you? David tells me it takes about 3 hours total for him to go to and from work every day. Now, why can't you just let my son take the car to work? I'm sure that it would save him so much time on his daily commute. I just know that he would have an easier time if he were the one driving.
I understand what you're saying, Donna. I really do. But it's like I said, this is David's choice and I'm just respecting it. I'm really not forcing him to take the bus or drive or any of that. It's all him.
Well, if that's what you have to say for yourself, then here's what I have to say back to you. You are a nasty, nasty woman.
I am so sorry you feel that way, Donna.
And I don't think that you're a good wife for my son either. You don't have sense of what it means to be his wife. I mean, don't you know the kind of things a wife should be for their husband? You really need to just stop thinking of yourself. Do you know that?
I'm sorry, Donna, but I really don't think that I'm being selfish here at all. In fact, I think I'm being a good wife precisely by respecting what David wants to do.
Well, I don't see it that way at all. So what do you think about that, huh? I know that you only ever married David in the first place because of how much money he makes. But I seriously doubt that you have even the semblance of any real affection for my son.
Okay, well, again, I think it's really unfortunate that you think that way, but I really do love David. We both love each other very much, and that's why we're married.
Sure, you say whatever it is you need to make yourself feel better. But I know for a fact that you just tricked my poor son into believing you. And as his mother, I am going to make sure that he realizes how you've tricked him so that he can finally wake up from this illusion. I won't let you just jerk my son around and use him like you've been doing this whole time. Hey, Rachel, just what the heck do you think you're doing, huh? Why aren't you at home right now?
Oh, Donna, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you'd be coming over today.
Well, if you really want to know what I'm doing here, I just thought I'd drop in and surprise you all so that I could see what you've been feeding my son. But now you're not even home, so I'll ask again. Where are you right now? Shouldn't you be at home getting dinner ready for your husband?
I mean, normally I am at home at this time, but I was called into the office in Chicago.
Chicago? What do you mean you were called in? What does that even mean? I bet you're just there on vacation or something, aren't you?
I really am here at work, not here on vacation. But since it's the end of the year, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here.
Don't you know that your husband should always be on the top priority list? But hey, at least you got use of my son's money so that you could treat yourself to a little trip. But tell me, have you ever stopped once to think about what my poor little David is going to eat while you're away?
I imagine that he'll probably order out a few nights, and some other nights he'll probably just cook for himself, like an adult. So I really don't think there's any need to be acting like this.
You must be so pleased with yourself, huh? You really think that's going to be enough?
I think that David is an adult, and he knows how to handle himself, and that it's fine if he and I are apart now and then.
I am just so sick of having to put up with you. You have to know that you're nothing but a parasite on my son, right? You just use my son and the money that he makes from his job only to treat yourself to whatever it is that you happen to want at that day. I just feel so sorry for my poor David. I have no idea that a poor young man would end up in your clutches. And to think that he studied so hard to get into a good school, worked so hard to get his current position. And now that he's really hitting his stride, he somehow ended up picking up a little leech like you sucking at his side.
Donna, please. You need to stop treating David as if he's not aware of the decisions that he's making. I mean, you do realize that he's more than capable of taking care of himself, right? David has never had a single complaint about the way that I do or don't do things for him. So while I appreciate you wanting to make sure that your son is being well taken care of, I can assure you that he is.
Well, as his mother, I think that I'm the one who can make that final judgment. Isn't that right? And if the woman that is going around using my son like her own personal piggy bank says that things are okay, then they surely must not be. And just who do you think you are, taking such an insolent tone with me anyways, huh? You should know better than to talk back to your mother-in-law.
I'm not trying to argue or take a tone, but it just feels like we have a lot of misconceptions between us that I'm trying to clear up.
There you go again! You just talked back to me right there! Honestly, I still have no idea how it is that my son ended up with someone like you. It just makes no sense at all. Most days I wish that David never moved out to the city. I just know that he would have been happy getting with a girl from our hometown. But now that my little boy has gone so far away, it's so much more difficult for me to keep my eye on him. And that's when you came into the picture.
Donna, I just think you should know that David and I make sure to put a certain amount of our incomes aside as savings every single month. I'm not just blowing through every single penny that we both earn.
Oh, please. How can you say that when you just bought a new car and I see you walking around with nice handbags from expensive brands all the time? I just know that you bought all of this not with your own money, but with David's money. Isn't that right? It's all thanks to my son that you have that $1,000 handbag. But don't you even feel the slightest bit guilty about what you've done to David?
Actually, Donna, I'll correct you there again. The bulk of the things that I own, I have bought and paid for myself.
No, that can't be right. That's impossible. You didn't even go to a good college. There's no way that someone like you could have afforded such nice things. Wait a second. I think I see what's going on here, actually. You were working before you got married to my son, isn't that right? I guess I just didn't realize you were doing, well, that kind of work.
And just what kind of work might you be referring to there? Huh, Donna?
Oh, please. You know what I'm talking about. You've probably taken money from plenty of men at this point, so it's no wonder you're so comfortable doing it to my son as well. How could I have not noticed this until now? It makes everything make sense, and it fits the image I have of you perfectly. You certainly do have the pretty face for it. I bet all you do is get the liquor flowing and then all those men were like putty in your hands. Isn't that right?
I can't believe that I'm even having to deny doing something like that, but no. You have no idea what I did or do for a living.
Well, it's the only thing that makes sense. You didn't go to a good school, so how else could someone like you end up with such extra money to spend? But now the question is, what will you do now that I know the truth? I certainly won't stand for someone like you mixing your genes with my son to create some horrible little brat!
Okay, Donna, I really think that you're starting to cross some boundaries that you shouldn't.
If you think that I'm crossing boundaries, then it must mean that I really am over the target with you on this. I've known something was wrong with you ever since you and David got married. You know, David would always try to buy me whatever it was I wanted on my birthdays. But then you came into the picture, and his budget for presents changed remarkably!
Well, the size of our families got bigger, and we suddenly had more expenses to worry about. Not to mention the fact that we started to get more serious about saving up money for our futures.
Rachel, you do realize that I am David's mother, right? The woman who gave birth to him. And that means I always know what is best for my little boy. This is something that I am always going to have over you, and that you are never, ever going to be able to change. But you are doing something to my son. Ever since the two of you got married, he's always acting so much more cold towards me. And even when I try to send him messages, sometimes it takes him so long to respond to me now. I don't know what you're saying or doing to him, but I know that all of this is your fault.
I really haven't done anything at all, though. I think that David is making up his own mind and acting accordingly.
No, that can't be it. I refuse to believe that. This is all your fault. It just has to be. It can't be any other way. I know that you're influencing my son to be more mean to me and draw back away from me and towards you. You brainwashed him, you witch!
Again, I really haven't done anything of the sort at all, and I resent those comments.
I don't care what you resent. I am not going to let you treat me and my son like this anymore. My son is a good, pure boy, and I will rescue him from your evil ways. So just watch out, because now you're on my list. And I always take care of my list, Rachel. Rachel, are you there? I heard that you turned down my request to David for me to move in with the two of you. Is that true? What's the matter with you?
I really don't even know what you think you're going to accomplish talking to me like this, but it wasn't just me. If you really must know, neither David nor I wanted you in here.
But that's not true! How dare you try to talk to me like that? You think you're better than me just because you can live off my son's money? You are nothing but a parasite, do you know that? How dare you try to come between my son and I?
Okay, let's make one thing straight here. Your son only makes about $1,200 a month. So are you really sure that you have all the information that you think you do?
What are you talking about? There's no way that my son makes so little money. That's impossible! I thought that he worked at a big company, right? I looked up the annual average salary of the company and it was quite huge. So how about you at least check your facts before lying to me?
I'm only telling you all of this because I talked to David and he said it was okay to tell you. But David doesn't work for that company anymore.
Wait, what? What do you mean by that? What do you mean he doesn't work for that company?
I mean that he quit his job so that he could go back to school. So right now, David is only working part-time.
No, that can't be right. You mean my son has been working part-time for a while now? How can he even afford to take care of you both? How in the world did he manage to afford your new car?
Well, lucky for him, he didn't need to. I bought the car all on my own.
You mean you bought the car with all your own money? What could that mean? Are you seeing some man on the side who gave you the money for it?
No, it's nothing like that. I just went to work, earned money, and then I bought a car. You do know that I'm not a housewife or anything, right?
What is that supposed to mean? I know that you don't work, if that's what you're trying to say. You almost never leave the house, right?
That's actually because I work from home, if you really want to know. So I don't have to commute. But you're right, in that I don't literally work in an office building every day.
Maybe you should try reading a bit more, or watching the news every now and then. I mean, really, just how did such a horrible liar manage to get my sweet little boy to fall in love with her?
I am telling you that there is none of that going on at all. I haven't lied to David about anything.
That isn't true. You aren't going to be able to trick me like you did with him. I know that David works for an amazing company that he would never just walk away from like that.
Well, he didn't just walk away from it like that. He'd been working for the company for years, but he felt like he wasn't making the progress that he should have been.
And just what makes you think that you can talk as if you know more about my son than I do, huh? You really are an uppity little brat, do you know that? I will have you know that I reject your rejection for me living with you two, and I will be moving in with all my things soon. So you better have a room clean and ready for me by next week, because I will be living with you from then on, whether you like it or not. Rachel, are you there? Where are you right now?
I'm at my house right now, if you really want to know.
But that can't be right. I went to your house just yesterday. I told David what day I would be coming to move in, and I thought you both would be there. What the heck is going on here?
I guess you already know what's going on around here. We moved away from that house.
You moved away? Why in the world would you do that? Where did you even move to? I thought you both knew that I was coming to move in with you.
That's exactly why we decided to move away. You just decided that you were going to do that even after we told you that the answer is no. But you refused to listen to us. So we thought that the best solution would be to move away.
So then, you just moved to a whole new address without even telling me? How could you be so cruel? I mean, I am just shocked right now.
Well, how do you think I felt when you just announced that you'd be moving in with us? Anyways, this was as good a chance as any to finally move away. I just know that David was already at his limit with you. And he told me that he would be happy if he never had to see you ever again.
No, that can't be true! I know that my son would never ever say something like that! It can't be true!
But it is true. I mean, you do remember why we live where we do, right? It's because after we got married, you said that you wanted us all to live closer. And because of that, you were the one who made sure that David would end up with a 3-hour commute. Honestly, have you ever stopped to think about the damage you might be causing to other people's lives? No, of course you don't. You only ever think about yourself and nobody else.
But it's only because I was so worried about how the two of you would do as newlyweds.
I really don't think that was it at all, actually. I just think that you don't want your son going to live in a place where you couldn't keep your eye on him. Donna, I'm just gonna be very honest with you. The way that you've been treating David has caused him so much trouble in his life. You need to let him go and live his own life already.
What are you talking about? What's wrong with a mother wanting to stay close to her child? I let you two get married in the first place, didn't I?
You really don't care at all about just how much trouble you're giving us, do you? I mean, even through high school and college, you just never let him make his decisions on his own.
And look at how his life turned out. He graduated with great grades, got into an amazing school, and was even working at a great company until recently.
But don't you get that David was only doing all of those things because you were asking him to? I mean, David tells me that he's always felt like he's never gotten out of your shadow. I think you've done a lot of damage that you should acknowledge. Because the fact is that your son is his own man, and that I am his wife. So you need to stop whining about how much you dislike me. You're acting like a child.
But I made sure that he was the top of his class.
And I'm sure that you worked hard, and worked David hard to make that happen. But that's not what matters here. Don't you care at all that your son has grown up scared of you? For years, you've made David too scared to speak up when you were being overbearing. In fact, I think that if you weren't for me, that David wouldn't be able to find the strength in himself to turn down some of your more ridiculous requests.
But that's not even true. You mean that you've really turned my own son against me? That can't be true.
You have done that to yourself, Donna, but I hope that you're finally starting to get the picture. We don't want anything to do with you anymore. Actually, I just got a message from an old colleague of David's, and he told me that you'd been calling the office.
But, I mean, you told me he had quit his old job.
I did, didn't I? So then why were you bothering to call there? I mean, do you really still not get that the reason why he quit his job was so that he could take control of his own life? He wanted to be free of you, and that was one of the last big steps that he needed to take to do it.
You're taking away my only son! How could you be so cruel to treat your own mother-in-law like this? What am I supposed to do now without David in my life? Does this mean that David is going to stop sending me money every month as well? What am I supposed to do if you do that? How am I supposed to live?
You should know that for more than 6 months now, I've been the one to send you money, not David.
So then, you really mean to tell me that you've basically taken over taking care of all the expenses at home?
Of course. I mean, after all, David didn't have that much in terms of savings. I asked him why he didn't have more put away, and he said he was always trying to spend everything on gifts for you.
But, you mean, that's why my son doesn't have any of his own money?
That's right. And maybe you can finally start to understand just why David and I have been getting so frustrated with you. Anyways, now that we've cleared all of that up, I think that you and I are done here. Please never bother us again. After that, Donna tried to call and send messages to David, but by then, he had already blocked her on every possible platform she would be able to reach him on. I heard about this from some of David's relatives, but apparently, without us sending her money, Donna's quality of life took a huge nosedive. This relative told us that she had been reduced to clipping coupons and trying to provide for herself by starting a part-time job as well, in order to save money. Donna sold her house and moved into a tiny apartment in order to stretch her savings. As for David, he finishes his program in a few more months and has already gotten offers from companies for a much greater salary than he had had before. Of course, both him and I were crushed that things had to happen the way that they did between Donna and us, but we all agree that it's for the best. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe and see more content like this.